So when Leanne Tui says what she said to that child, because he was a child, he was a junior in high school, I know there's no way she had his best interest at heart, because no sane thinking mother would ever say something like that to any child, let alone one that she loved. When Sean Tui said he found Michael Oher on the field, with one knee on the ground, if you believe the book, and he asked him, "Mike, what's wrong?" And he said, "My dad died." When Leanne learns of this, she tells Michael Oher, "Well, it's a good thing that he did die, because he was going to make claims on your money." Who tells a kid something like that when they are grieving the loss of a parent? I can tell you who. Leanne Christian Tui. So let me focus, because I want to make sure that I don't get this wrong. This is still chapter 3. I am reading this verbatim. Leanne Tui took him aside and told him how sorry she was to hear about his dad. "And I hope this doesn't come off callous and cold to you," she said, "but you didn't know the man." Michael acknowledged that was true. Leanne said, "This might be better, because one way or another you're going to have money, and you know that he would have found you and made claims upon you." Let me repeat it. Leanne took him aside and told him how sorry she was to hear about his dad. "And I hope this doesn't sound callous or cold to you," she said, "but you didn't know the man." Michael acknowledged that was true. Leanne said, "This might be better. One way or another, you're going to have money, and you know that he would have found you and made claims upon you." You hear that? One way or another. But anytime somebody says, "This may seem cold and callous," how do you say condolences and sorry to hear about your dad, and in the same breath say, "It's better that he's dead"? You're better off with him being dead. It doesn't matter if he knew him or not. The bond between a parent, it's unbreakable, whether or not that parent was in his life or not. But Sean Tui said something that was very interesting about his wife, that she has the heart the size of a pea. The size of a pea. There is no way this woman loved this kid the way the movie portrayed her. And she says something that heartless to him. The day that he finds out that his father has been killed and he's been deceased for 3 months, unidentified. You don't start talking about money. You start praying, Miss Christian. You start praying. Not talk about money and about one way or another. Because see, the game, the whole narrative about he was going to be adopted and he would inherit a part of Sean Tui's estate, it started early with Michael Oher, in my opinion. So one way or another, you're going to have money. And maybe it's best that your dad is dead so he doesn't make any claims upon your money. That's what you tell him the day his daddy died. Miss Christian. And this same kid, if you believe the book, when he did go to their home to live with his one trash bag, they said filled with his things. I have never in my entire life, and I asked my mom, have you ever heard of anybody saying that when they were going to wash clothes, do laundry, that it was a cleansing of the things. So when she gathers up Michael Oher's things, they went around to several places where he lived and got his clothes and things, and he's going back to the Tuohys to live. What did she say, according to Michael Lewis? That the first thing she did was had a cleansing of his things. A cleansing? You mean you washed his clothes? A cleansing of his things. But keep in mind, all of this nonsense about, in my opinion, Leanne Tuohy being this staunch Christian woman, it's all fake. It's a facade. Because she also made fun of his clothes. She said he had all of these shirts, these polo shirts with penguins on them. And behind his back, you know what they were doing, in my opinion? Making fun of how dumb they thought he was. The first thing we did was had a cleansing of his clothes. And then she goes on to make fun of his clothes. We're talking about a kid who was damn near homeless. He had all of these little polo shirts with little penguins on him, as if this kid cares about Ralph Lauren, cares about preppy clothes. He's just trying to survive from day to day. But she, meanwhile, is making fun of his clothes. If you really love the kid as a son, if you really had his best interest at heart, you don't even repeat something like that to Michael Lewis. It never enters a book. Any impure thought that you had, you should have kept it to yourself. Like in The Color Purple, you bet not tell nobody but God. There was a lot of sniggling and giggling about him, in my opinion, behind his back. I think she was who her father was. I think she is who her father is. But when you want to have access to these African American players and their money, you pretend that you're not. You change the narrative. Instead of saying, I am racist, you say, I was raised in a racist household, but I'm not anymore. Because, you know, if you really reveal who you are, those black athletes are not going to show you any of the money. You know how Tom Cruise says, show me the money? They're not going to show you the money. If they knew your background. And if you want to know why I think she threw a glass of wine in Michael Lewis' face, it's because Michael Lewis said in the book, because in my opinion, he's a snake as well. She had no idea that Michael Lewis was going to print, was going to actually write certain things in the book. So when she says she's walking down the aisle with her father to marry Sean Tuohy, and he turns around and look and sees a sprinkling, and I do mean a sprinkling of black people, and he said, what are all these niggas doing here? She has no idea that he's actually going to put that in the book. But he does. And I think that's why she threw a glass of red wine in his face. Not because of something that he said about Michael Oher, but because of what because of what he revealed about her own father. Because now you know who she is. But all of a sudden, we're supposed to be outraged because Michael Oher dared to say, I want what I think you owe me. Oh, wait, hold on, y'all. This is extortion. He's extorting us. I don't think he's extorting anybody. I think he is exposing you. Imagine every time you sit down for an interview during your NFL career, there are questions about The Blind Side, a movie that made you look dumb as a brick, a movie that you didn't receive a single check for until 7+ years after it premiered a measly $9,000. And imagine that same movie cutting your son a check for $117.30 a few years ago that still hasn't cleared. And everybody wants you to shine a light on how wonderful the Tuohys are and how you are so grateful. You should be so grateful for everything they've done for you. And you know that you put $2.5 million in an account with their name on it. And little Miss Affluent Christian, Leanne Tuohy, was writing checks to cash to herself. Just imagine how unnerving all of that was. And just think about how long he didn't say anything about it. I think he must be a very nice person. Because the right thing to do is to try to work it out privately. And that didn't work. And now, in my opinion, they have the nerve to say he was extorting us. When he came to you as a man and said, listen, I think this is what I'm owed. Can you please give me my money? And they give them their asses to kiss. And when he decides he's going to tell the world that, listen, I was never adopted, and I think I'm owed a shit ton of money, now I'm the bad guy. And guess what? In the entire book, The Blind Side, the word guardian is only mentioned a handful of times. Only twice, I think, it's mentioned in reference to Michael Oher. The word conservatorship is never mentioned. Now, Michael Lewis can describe the eraser on a pencil in vivid detail. You would think he would describe or would have asked the Tuohys about the morning that they went to court to, so say, adopt Michael Oher. You would think that he would have an elaborate paragraph about it, the same way he described Tony Henderson, the same way he described the trailer where the Franklins lived, the same way he described Hurt Village, the projects where Michael Oher family lived, the same way he described everything in detail when he wanted to. Why were there no interview questions at all about the conservatorship when they went to court? Do we not get any visual of attorney Deborah Brannon Pace? Or Deborah Pace Brannon, pardon me. Do we not get any sentences about her? What was she wearing? What was she driving? Was her arms in a sad knot? This is how Michael Oher's arms were described, in a sad knot. The readers get nothing about that morning. I wonder why. No description of the ride there, the mood, the walk up the steps, the opening of the door, the color of the chair. Nothing? I wonder why. Drop down in the comments and tell me if you think Michael Lewis was well aware of the fact that Michael Oher was not adopted, but he was in a conservatorship way back in 2006. Why were there no probing questions about the warrior princess, about that morning in the book The Blind Side? No elaborate 7 or 8 paragraphs about that morning. That's what I would expect from a writer such as Michael Lewis, because as I stated, he could describe the eraser on a pencil in detail. And most of them look, the same. But I'm sure he could have found some dimples or something on it. But nothing about that morning. I find that extremely odd, and as Carrie Champion said, a little off. But in the next episode, we're going to talk about that documentary. I thought it was a bit premature. I thought it was a good documentary in the sense that I was excited to hear his family speak. But I knew that the last 5 minutes would be about the money. Although there could have been 2 episodes done on the money. Which is why I took it upon myself to actually research the money. I went and I found the entire script. I think it was 134 pages or something like that. Not because I needed to read it word for word, but I wanted some other information from it. The next episode will be up tomorrow morning. So talk to you soon, Shaq. Good night. It was good morning. Now it's good night. It's taken me all day to complete this episode. Hey, such is life. Good night.